and just want to reflect upon what a significant contribution you and thousands of others who aren't in the room made to our club over the last couple of years. Dale touched upon the fact that we're in a really steady and stable position as a club. And whilst the presentation I'm going to make tonight is very much through the lens of looking forward, I just wanted to add my sincere thanks to everyone in the room and the countless thousands of others who did your bit to assist us through that period of time. We are a well-run football club full of committed professionals who did a remarkable job through a really challenging time. And when you overlay that with the fact that we've got a supporter base and member base in particular as committed and generous and supportive as you are, we think we can make some pretty powerful and exciting things happen over the next 5 to 10 years. But it's the next 5 years I want to talk to you about tonight and give you as much of an insight as to what our plans are as we possibly can. So bear with me. I know there's going to be varying levels of interest in it, but I think given you're all here tonight, it's going to be something that you'll take away and enjoy. Those of us who are fortunate enough to work at the Fremantle Dockers on your behalf, in your club, are really aligned. And we're really aligned in understanding the job we've got at hand, but also the drive and determination we've got to really usher in that new era of sustained competitiveness, of contention, and ultimately success. And with that in mind, it's my absolute pleasure to take you through our 2021 to 2025 strategic plan tonight. As Dale mentioned, we think it's a bold statement that sets the agenda for what we want to achieve over this 5-year period. The external release of this plan is really important to us, and it's important in order to ensure that our most important stakeholders, so our members and key partners, have a good understanding of what we're trying to achieve over this period. But also we think it's important because we want to make ourselves accountable to deliver against it. So that's the key essence we want you to take away as well, that we've got an opportunity tonight to really bring you inside the football club, your football club, and then we want to put ourselves on the hook to deliver against what we've talked about. I'm sensing I'm losing a couple of people just looking over to my right. I'm not sure why that is, but anyway, focus, folks. We've got a really important thing to do here. It's all about on-field, isn't it? We want you to know the path. We want you to know the direction we're taking, and we want to put ourselves on the hook to deliver against it. So as part of this strategic planning process, we also review the purpose, vision and values of our organisation, of your organisation. There was nothing particularly wrong with the purpose, vision and value set that was existing at the time, but the one thing that became clear to us when we looked at it closely is that it didn't feel like us. It could have applied to any of our 17 competitor clubs. And given where we've come from as an organisation, you know, the birth that we as a football club, the history of the region that we come from, and where we are right now and where we want to go, we wanted to have something that was unique to us. And we wanted to ensure that our purpose, vision and values reflected who we are as an organisation. We're an emotional club whose people feel the ups and downs and wins and losses with rare passion. We know we haven't delivered to our full potential for periods of our existence, but we don't step away from that, we don't recoil from that. We accept the drive and determination and resilience that comes with that kind of territory and history. We come from a place of football heritage and history that's equal of any across the entire country, and we've got our parent clubs in East and South Fremantle to thank for that. And our history is rich in stories of great Fremantle people who've done great things and love their club. And the way in which our members have supported us in this most challenging of periods provides the latest powerful example of the commitment and dedication of the Purple Army. Our strategic plan is going to be brought to life over the coming years as a result of our unapologetic focus and commitment to our revised purpose, vision, and what we call our anchors. And we're really excited to share the club's plan with you tonight. We spent 3 months working through a process to deliver our purpose, vision, and anchors. It was a process that included input from our board of directors, our executive, our management team, entire staff group, players, a portion of our member base, supporter base, and key partners. We had countless workshops. We reworked it 1,000 times, wordsmithed, changed letters, changed apostrophes, everything you can imagine, to land where we have. And I want to give you a brief insight into some of the themes that came through when we were talking about our purpose in particular. When you think about a purpose, it really is our reason for being. It's why we exist. And some of the things that came up, I'm just going to jump onto this if I can. I get that going, guys? Thank you. Some of the things that came up from a theme perspective. If you look at what I've highlighted there, what's our reason for existence? Clearly it's on field, and us to be as successful, as strong as we can came through. But interestingly, a really common theme was us adding to our community, building our community. We came from somewhere special with a history and heritage that I touched upon before, and to make sure that that has an element of prominence in the purpose that we're talking about. There was this concept of belonging, of connectedness to our home. We come from a special place, as you know, to making sure that that has an existence in what we are as a club. And this concept of making our people proud. So I want to talk about our Freo family in a moment. And then finally, this concept of the anchor from a purpose perspective. So to give you a bit of insight, about 18 months ago, our playing group in particular started to think about our symbol, essentially, our logo. And I'm sure you guys might have heard it around. Sometimes around the traps, it's a bit of a symbol of derision. You know, we get criticised that an anchor holds you back or it drags you down and it can sink you. Whereas the playing group in particular wanted to flip that around on its head and actually talk about it as a symbol of strength, of stability, and give you a foundation from which you can build upon. So our player's trademark is actually called for the anchor, and they build a whole bunch of things around it. So this concept was something that really came through in all of our discussions with our organisation, and we wanted to try and infuse that within our purpose. So this is what we came up with, folks: to fight, inspire and win, enrich our community, and make the Freo family proud. So I'll just go through those briefly. So the win part explains itself. That's got to be in our purpose. That's what we're here for. We're here to win premierships. The fight was a really interesting one, and that had a bit of back and forth as we went through this process, because there was some feeling was, oh, do we want to be seen as a battler and we're scrapping and scratching our way to success? But we thought it inspired a bit and reflected a bit of where we've come from. We've had nothing easy ever since our existence. If you look at the way the two latest expansion clubs have come into the competition compared to what we were served up with, it's chalk and cheese. And we think the connotation of fight can really apply to on the field. Clearly we want to fight to win every time we can, but even every time we compete. So in round 11 last year, we played Port Adelaide and we're 40 points down at quarter time. So all of us disappointed we got ourselves into that position. But the boys hung in and they got back to within a couple of goals. And if we had kicked a bit straighter, we might have actually had a chance to sneak that win. But that's what we want. I know that's what you want to support us, to ensure that whatever the situation, we fight as a club, both on the field, but we also fight off the field. Whether it's with the AFL to make sure we get what's rightfully ours, if it's for a community funding grant to make sure we can enrich our community. It's that type of attitude that we thought fight was a really important word. The inspire part is interesting. So we're a football club, that's our core business. That's what we're here to do. But interestingly enough, we're also now, as you'd know, we're an entertainment company. We put on the equivalent of 11 concerts, basically, of 40 to 50,000 people every second week for 20 weeks during the middle of winter. So we know we're all here to watch the footy and for JL and the guys to have a win, but there's so much more that goes around that. We're a content company. You guys that all follow our social media, this is a young demographic. I've no doubt that you all follow us closely on Instagram and Twitter and the like. Our guys do a phenomenal job, and it's not just about engaging you as our current day supporters and members, but the next generation of fans as well. So we have to inspire, because for many people, we're the most important thing in their week. There's some people that don't love their job. There's some people that don't even love their husbands, but they love going to the footy. That's not fair, I shouldn't have said that. That people love going to the footy, and that's something that we think about on a regular basis. We've got a responsibility to make sure that we're fighting and inspiring and we're winning. The word enrich was what we settled on for a community perspective. We thought that really encapsulated that we've got a responsibility, and I'll talk about that a bit more in a moment when we touch on our anchors. And make the Freo family proud. Our Freo family clearly starts in this room, and countless 50,000 others who can't be joining us tonight, but it extends clearly into our board, our executive, our players, our coaches, our corporate partners who are so committed to us as well too. And we figure that if we can fight, inspire and win, enrich our community and make the Freo family proud, we're going to go a long way to achieving what I'm going to talk about in a moment in terms of our 5-year strategic plan. So that's the purpose, folks. from a vision point of view, so now think about the vision in the sense of what do we want to be? What do we want to look like? What do we want to achieve in the next 5 years or 4 years now? So clearly, again, the on-field component. We want premierships. We want to win flags during this period of time. This concept of legacy, of custodians. So we don't want to be a club that has a short-term period of success and then drops off the other end. There's precedents of clubs who've had 10, 15, and in Geelong's case, is near on 20 years of contending. So all of us are going to be, as I said, those of us lucky enough to work on your behalf in our club are going to be at the club for a finite period of time. So it sounds a bit corny, but our job is to make sure that when we leave our roles, that we do so and leave it in a better place than what we found it. So that legacy component of it, and it being a club that's far bigger than any individual, is important. Be brave and be bold. We're in a industry that if you put your head up and take a bit of a risk and it doesn't come off, it can get a bit ugly for you, particularly in a town like Perth. We're in West Australian. You're on the back page every second day, sometimes on the front page, which you really don't want to be. But we don't want that to curtail our ability to be brave and to be bold and to have a go. And we know you, as our most fervent supporters, understand we need to get most things right. We want to get 8, 9, 10 out of 10 things right, but occasionally we're not going to. But if we're having a crack and having a go, we think that's the attitude and the approach that we want to take. So this is what we've ended up with a vision, folks. So a brave, strong and successful club. I think I've touched upon them, and that's relatively self-explanatory. Leaving a powerful legacy, so that custodian piece, and making sure that people who come in and work for the club do so with a mind for it to be, it's going to be 100, 200, 300-year organisation. So those that are doing it for a period of time leave a legacy and holding true to the anchor. So if you think about the anchors, which I'll touch upon in a moment, they're our values, basically. And our values essentially are what guides us on a daily basis. So you've seen before a reference to the Freo family. We're holding true to the anchor. I don't think this can't be any other club's purpose and vision. This can only be one club. Not only in Australia, but globally, this is ours. So that wasn't the driving force behind it, but it certainly looks a lot different, is a lot more identifiable for us in that perspective. So our values. So we've got our purpose. Why do we exist? We've got our vision in terms of what we want to achieve and where we want to be. And then we've got our anchors, which, as I said, most people call values. So these are the things that we want to guide our behaviours on a daily basis to help us achieve our purpose and vision. They were the themes that we worked through. So now if I touch upon them. So club first. So this doesn't mean club first in front of everything. It doesn't mean in front of your health or your family, but in the connotation of the club and the role that each of us who work in the organisation play. Every decision we make, everything we do has to have the entire organisation first and foremost. It can't can't look after an individual at the expense of the organisation or group of people. It's got to be club first. Authenticity was a really strong theme that came through. This is essentially do what you say you're going to do. And this is something that we think as a club that we've probably been inconsistent in previously, and that we want to make sure that we're really strong and consistent in moving forward. This could have been passion. We loved it as heart. We want to be an organisation that does have care and empathy and respect. And some of this means that you have the hard conversations. And sometimes you have to make really difficult decisions, but it doesn't mean you don't do them without heart. This connection one is really important for us. We see ourselves as a challenger brand. We've got significant opportunities to grow, and we feel that we've got to be as open and accessible and as connected as we possibly can. And, you know, that might manifest in itself is we don't say no to much. If it's 6BR calling us or the West Australian, we kind of want to have a default position that's yes. Every now and then we're not going to be able to do something for one reason or another, but we want to flip it around from being no automatically to yes, because we want to give you guys as much insight to the club as you can, and we want to make sure not only we're very good communicators externally, but we're the same internally as well. And then finally, best self, both from an individual perspective and a whole organisation as well. And there's a comment under there that might be a bit hard to read, but it's we prioritise character in building a fulfilling work environment. So there's a bit of a school of thought that you hire for character, train for skill. All the guys you saw come in recently, every person that you've heard recently that come into the organisation, you're going to hear from a bunch of them tonight, are here in the organisation clearly because they've got a high level of capability and specialised skill set. But primarily they're here because of their character. And it sounds trite and it can sound a bit corny, but that's going to be a really strong theme for us as we progress through this period. Talked to you before about the playing group. So that's something that really drives them on a daily basis. You might even hear it in some of the language from time to time, and that really helps drive what we've come through as an organisation here today. I might jump back onto this mic if I can briefly, guys. So a bit like the purpose, vision and anchors process, the strategic planning process took a while. It took about 4 months, started in November of 2020. And again, it included input from across the entire club. When we discuss the strategic plan, I think what I want you to think about is it's the what we want to do, how we want to do it, and by when. So if the purpose, vision and anchors are a bit like our heart and soul, the strategic plan is a bit like the nuts and bolts. So what we tried to do is essentially look at gaining information from the 12 different departments in our club. Going to annoy you again here, Kelly, on the mic. So if you see here, we've got 12, these are the 12 departments that make up your football club, basically. And what we did is we got each of the heads of each of these divisions to write their own 5-year business plan. And we wanted to do that for 2 reasons. One is these guys are so busy, they're doing so much that often it's difficult to raise their eyes above not only the week and month ahead, but the day and what they've got to do tomorrow. So what we wanted to do is to raise their eyes a bit and think about what they wanted to do within their division in the next 5 years. But secondly, we wanted to grab a whole bunch of content that allowed us to bring the information together to make a cohesive 5-year plan. But clearly, what we didn't want to do also is have 12 strategic pillars and key areas, because I and our board aren't a believer in a 150-page strategic plan that's too hard to follow and too complex to read, that just loses interest after a period of time. So we wanted to condense it. So we came up with 6 key focus areas, or key strategic pillars. As you can imagine, first and foremost is football. So it's our most significant strategic pillar. It's our core business, clearly. It's always going to have primacy, and it's from which everything in our organisation flows. So I think that's reasonably self-explanatory. The environment and culture that we build at our organisation is going to be central to our success. So as you can imagine, within an AFL club, which is the most professional and competitive sporting competition in the country, we need that to be driven. We need our culture to have a hard edge to it. We need to hold ourselves accountable and it to be about high performance. But by the same token, we want it to be inclusive. We want our people to feel welcome. We want to have diversity. And we think we can go as far as we possibly want to do and have that hard edge to our environment, but it also be a supportive one that people feel like they want to come to on a daily basis. Those things don't need to be mutually exclusive, and that's a real focus for us. Our members and fans, the hero comment there, the centre of all we do. Not only do we need to do everything we possibly can to continue to engage and entertain and retain our rusted-on supporters, our most committed of supporters, but we need to find the next generation as well. So you can imagine why that is a key strategic pillar over this next 5 years. When you look at partnerships, you probably automatically think of our corporate partners, our sponsorship family, and they form a really critical part of this pillar, but it goes beyond that. Our football partners, the WA Football Commissions, they own our licence, the AFL, critical partner, the Waffle overall, but 3 clubs in particular, and East and South Fremantle, and our alignment partner in Peel. The football media, government, local, City of Fremantle, City of Coburn, state government, federal government, WA Police, a huge partner of ours in the last couple of years with all the COVID complexities and the like. The list goes on, and it's critical that we form fantastic partners and report to our board on a monthly basis as to how we're tracking against those relationships. Touched upon community, and this is massive for us, folks, for 2 main reasons. One, it should be. We're, in the whole scheme of things, a small to medium business. We'll turn over about $55 million this year. So that's not a huge business, but we do have an inordinate amount of focus and exposure and attention. And with that comes platforms and our ability to reach people, and by extension, our ability to have a positive impact on people's lives. So because of that, we should do it. We think it's incumbent upon us. And you add to that also, we come from the community, so of course we've got to be significant players in it. But there's also a bit of a strategic play here as well, because we think if we're doing that and doing that effectively, then people are going to think pretty kindly of you. If you're having a positive impact in people's lives, then at the very least you're going to have some positive brand advocates, which is valuable in itself. And the best case scenario is someone who might not have otherwise might end up being a member. They might sign up their family, and their kids might sign up, and their grandkids might sign up, and so on. Seen this happen before. So this is going to be a real focus area because A, it should be, and B, it'll help us grow as an organisation. The final strategic pillar, which as you can understand, is finance and infrastructure. It's a critical part, and the hero comment around the foundation of independence and strength sums it up. We have the foundations of a very strong organisation, and we've set ourselves some pretty ambitious goals in this area, which I'll touch upon in a moment. So folks, they're the 6 key strategic pillars. And very quickly, I'm going to take you through some high-level focus areas on that. When you talk about success through character, culture, and performance, it might be hard to see, but there's Seba, who's here in the room, Dave, Sean, Andy. So our top 4 in the F&B last year. So character, culture, and performance. So I think you all agree those guys can play a bit. But what they bring to our organisation from a character perspective, it far outweighs it and is going to set us up for generations to come. So that's what we'll be looking at tomorrow night with pick 6 and 8 and 19 and so forth on Thursday as well too. Folks, these are some of the things that we want to drive as an organisation. We want to make sure that our football program is as successful as it can be. And these are things that we're looking to have done by 2025. And we feel if we do these, there's a bunch of KPIs that we're going to meet. I'm not going to take you through them all tonight, but some that will stand out is that we want to win at least 1 premiership in both our AFL and AFLW by the end of this strategic planning period. Haven't done it yet. There's that element of contending as well and making sure that we're sustainable. So underneath that is at least 3 top 4 finishes in AFL and AFLW. Now, we didn't get either of those this year, and this is the end of year 1 of this plan. So we've got 4 years to get it. So it's ambitious, but we want to put ourselves on the hook for achieving this. This is a hard slide to read. I don't expect you to look closely at it, but if I just want to explain to you. So the football pillar, and I said to you before, it's succinct and it's clear and concise. The top box up there, the grey box, says what we want our club to be in 2025 and the 2025 KPIs. So that's where the premiership in each division and the top 4 finishers sit in the top box. Underneath that, we've got 8 strategic initiatives for 2021. The KPIs in the next column next to it, traffic light rating system there, and who's heading up those areas. So the top 2 were us finishing the top 8 in the AFL and top 2 in AFLW. So they're red. We didn't achieve them. Now, there's going to be some that we don't achieve on a yearly basis, but that's okay, because what we do and what we're doing right now is working out what 2022 looks like. And we see what we did and didn't do, and then set ourselves up and put it up to the board, who approve it just before we head off and leave at Christmas, to make sure we're clear as an organisation and everyone who works within this footy department knows what we're trying to achieve. There's other things in there. You all know that we've had some challenges with player availability, and we made a heck of a lot of change in that medical high performance space. So we set ourselves a target to be at least at the AFL average for games missed through injury. Didn't hit it, but we're really excited about the work that's been done, and we think there'll be a lag effect, and we'll hold ourselves to account to go and get it again next year. We assess how we spend every dollar within our soft cap, and there was a project assess in there that we've done that Joe Bridie led to make sure that we deliver that to the board and start implementing the findings from it. So you can see, folks, it's pretty clear what our guys have got to try and achieve, and that's behind every pillar. I'm not going to go through each of those, but that gives you a bit of insight, and that goes to our board every month. And our board can ask as many searching questions about how we're tracking and who's doing what and that's due in a month, how are you going against that, and so on and so forth. So that's what I talk about in terms of having clarity of focus and the path and accountability to pursuing it. I spoke about the cultural component before. This is a bit harder to measure. There's not as many objective measures of this and in this area as there are in finance or in football, for instance. But we want to make sure our organisation is one that people love coming to work. So we've got survey scores, the succession planning of key leadership positions, so it's not all just around one or two key individuals, that we've got people coming up through our organisation who can assume leadership positions as we go through. The members and fans I spoke about. We want to continue to build a loyal and membership fan base. We want to put on match day and event entertainment experience that rival any in the competition. Data and digital is huge for us. And what does this look like at the end of 5 years? We want to have 80,000 members. We want to average 50,000 in the final year, if not before, of attendance at Optus Stadium, and we want to average 6,000 attendance at AFLW games in Fremantle Oval. That again gives you some insight into the lofty goals that we've set ourselves. Partnerships, again, I won't linger on this too much, but we've got a fantastic partner family. We need to continue to build upon that and refreshing it and revitalising it, retaining it. And there's some lofty goals we've set ourselves in that area. Again, community, which I touched upon. So program participation. We've got a regional strategy that we want to implement and have significant growth in that as well too. Finance and infrastructure I touched upon. So again, this is a critical area for the growth of our organisation. We've set ourselves targets to be profitable post our royalty payment to the Footy Commission every year, and we've ticked that off this year, as Dale alluded to. We want to have $5 million, that's our aim, have $5 million in cash reserves at the end of this strategic planning period. So they're things that we're aiming for in that regard. So you can see there, folks, there's essentially our plan on a page. It's our purpose that we spoke about, a reason for being, our vision, where we want to go, our anchors down the bottom and the strategic pillars in the middle. All up, our plan's about 12 pages. When you throw into the pages underneath the pillars, some intros, our strategic drivers, which we haven't shown you tonight. But it's relatively simple and straightforward, but we think it's a powerful statement of what we want to do and how we're going to go about it. So folks, that gives you an insight into it. Anyone technologically advanced can scan that QR code right now and you'll be able to download the external copy of our strategic plan. You're also going to get it emailed to you. It's going to be on our website, so don't fret if you haven't got straight away. Here you can see the digital version of our Docker Annual. That's the cover this year. So Kiara Bowers, Turbo, Dale mentioned earlier on, is the cover, which I think is a fantastic outcome. And before we get to the question, you're going to be pleased to know that we've done a small print run of hard copies of the Docker Annual, and you're all going to get one tonight before you leave. So, I know that's a soft spot on the odd occasion, so it's keen to make sure that you got one on the way out. As I said at the start, folks, we're incredibly excited about the future. We've got a phenomenal foundation. There's been work done by so many good people, good Fremantle people, that's put us in this position. But we understand also there's a hell of a lot of work to do. We're not daunted by that. We're excited about it. We've got an incredibly aligned organisation from the board down. And we can't wait to see what the rest of this strategic planning brings. And we look forward to being on the journey with you. So thanks again, folks. Appreciate it.